Last time we talked, one things we kind of hit on. We didn't get deep into it. Uh, all these anonymous quotes that are coming out about Sam Pittman.
Absolutely.
Got some people that are running around out there that are willing to kind of go off the record and say some things that aren't exactly flattering. Um, and as you kind of stop and think about, where are these coming from? As a journalist, as if I'm trying to figure out who to talk to about these things who might go off the record, one, it's got to be someone who uh, cares about Arkansas at all. So that narrows the
Mhm.
list down a lot. Okay, Alabama does not care about Arkansas. Florida does not care about Arkansas right now. Georgia definitely does not care about Arkansas. Although Kirby Smart might give a cursory comment, I don't think it'd be anything negative about Pittman. The only schools I can think of that would genuinely have a care about Arkansas, maybe the Mississippi schools, although I'd almost rule out Mississippi State because Levy just got there.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily like Kiffin seems to be the kind of guy that if he has something to say, he's just going to say it on Twitter, not necessarily
Right.
go the anonymous route. He seems to be pretty big on just he's going to own up to it. He might say something off the record. I don't know. The only other school that I can think of is Missouri. And so there you've got a guy who does have a vested interest. He's recruiting directly against Arkansas. And someone who has the mentality to be like, yeah, yeah, come here. Let's go off the record. I'll tell you everything. And then just go scorched earth and give the whole, oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure they're going to be done with the whole staff by Halloween. Whole staff, every one of them. There's just not going to be coaches. Players are just going to run. Matter they're canceling the season after Halloween. It's just not happening. Okay, don't go to Arkansas. It's over. Recruits, you listening? Doesn't matter how much money they offer you. Don't go there. It's done. It's toast. We got a little money up here at Mizzou. You're gonna want to come up here and check it out. Forget that Arkansas thing. What do you think? Eli Drinkwitz is a candidate to be one of these off the record guys.
When you put it that way, I know you were talking about it earlier to me in a text message. It makes sense now. It makes sense. He's stealing. I mean, he's over here taking, besides Carius Kern, who just committed to LSU about an hour ago, who's from Marion, and he's stealing like the best recruits in the state of Arkansas. And he's even before him, I mean, he's used like the guys like Barrett Bannister,
Hmm.
the Powell kid that wasn't he from Fayetteville? And he's used so many of these Fayetteville guys for a while. Some of these in-state guys. He took Dindy with him. He's he's showing these guys the money, and and the more and more that he beats Arkansas, the louder he is going to continue to get. And I don't know if it maybe in a relation to Gus Malzahn, maybe.
Hmm.
Maybe there is some kind of, because he is a Gus Malzahn guy. Did Gus Malzahn maybe uh, kind of give him some material to use? Again, I mean, I think that could be a reason why, maybe dating back to the '06 deal and how everything fell out, and then maybe Gus kind of gave him, and just by association gave Eli some kind of hatred towards Arkansas. I don't know if that's an accurate thing, but
Yeah.
it's speculative. I think there's enough there to speculate. Hey, and now he's taking it up a notch, and just kind of the more and more that he wins, and the more and more hate he gets. The guy's a nerd. He dresses up for as Darth Vader in a press conference after a win. For goodness sakes, the guy is he's just a nerd, man, and a funny nerd, and it just makes sense. It would come from him or somebody in his staff.
Yeah. He's the only coach I know of that truly cares about beating Arkansas.
Yes.
For the longest time, he's the only person I knew of that cared about the battle line rivalry. Like I couldn't find any. He's got them all whipped into a frenzy up there. Like it, he acts like it's a Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and he really, anytime he can stick it to Arkansas, He wants to. He wants to poke the people of Arkansas and Sam Pittman as hard as possible. If he could line every street in Arkansas with a Mizzou recruiting billboard, he'd do it.
You would.
And so
No.
having an opportunity to go off the record and gain an upper hand and take a few shots at Arkansas and Pittman, like saying things like, "Oh yeah, they got plenty of money. I don't know what their deal is." Knowing that, one of the things that we've talked about is, and a lot of people don't realize this, everyone keeps saying Walmart money, Walmart money, Walmart money. The only Walmart money I've seen really come into the Arkansas Athletics was Bud Walton money. That's kind of
Mhm.
Walmart adjacent money.
Right.
The Waltons, most of them went to Mizzou. And so that's
Hmm.
why when you had that giant donation that came through anonymously up there at Mizzou to help Drinkwitz out, that kind of helped got him over the edge with some of these recruits. A lot of us were looking around going, I wonder if that's Walmart money.
Right.
Because, the Waltons may not throw a lot of money toward athletics here in Fayetteville, but they were Mizzou people. And they may want to get Eli on, kind of up and running, get him
Yeah.
building stuff up there. Now, I can't say that for certain. Now Andy, one of our compadres, runs into Waltons all the time, it seems like. But maybe we
He
can get
always
him
has a
down
story to
one
tell.
day, although I doubt they would say it. Otherwise, they wouldn't, the donation would be anonymous. But, I think it's way more likely that Walmart money ends up in Eli Drinkwitz's coffers than in Sam Pittman's.
Yeah. Because he's winning. It just nobody's gonna want to patch a sinking ship and continue to see it sinking. Now it may change and maybe this year with the additions of what he's done with the 39 transfers, a new freshman, new coordinator, maybe things happen and change. But thinking about Eli Drinkwitz and the one thing that comes to my mind is after Arkansas beat him in 2021, they turned around and I mean, they stuck it to the Razorbacks in 2022. And I always still have that vision of and that memory of Eli Drinkwitz going and getting the state line of Arkansas and Missouri and running down the field with it in his hand like he has a baton and running to the trophy and switching it to Missouri. Does that not kind of boil people's blood a little bit? Like this guy, his antics, it just makes you just want to cringe and makes you just, it just kind of ticks you off a little bit. Like this guy's just so extra. He cares about this rivalry. He wants it to be a rivalry. He's begging Arkansas to actually care. And
Mhm.
it's at some point, Arkansas's got to respond and be like, look, dude, just quit and we're going to hang 100 on you. Like at some point, it's got to come to an end.
Yeah,
Has to.
I think the loss last year and then the recruiting stuff this year, I think might be what finally gets Arkansas fans to kind of be like, okay, we forget you're even in the conference, which a lot of people do. I still think of them as a Big Ten school, even though they've never even been in the Big Ten. But his antics, just his way of like saying and going about things, and then just running up the score last year when Arkansas just did not care and was just done with everything, and then the recruiting situations this year. I think finally, it's still not going to be like the heated rivalry, but they're going to care. They're going to
Right.
remember Missouri is still on the schedule. It's not going to be like a lot, most years have been like, oh, yeah, I forgot. We still got Mizzou. And they're going to actually make note of it. And I think Pittman's genuinely going to want to win this. He's going to, and that's going to be his big inspiration to kind of hold this thing together through November, is to try to hold this together just to be able to kind of set the Eli Drinkwitz thing straight.
Right. Wouldn't
And
it
it's not a
be
Mizzou. I don't care about Mizzou football.
right?
It's Eli Drinkwitz. It's him.
Right.
If Drinkwitz went somewhere else, if you're the coach at Mississippi State, I think it would be Mississippi State. We'll pay attention to them now.
Yeah.
And Mizzou goes back to being some random team at the end of the schedule.
What if it ends up being like a Kansas Missouri '07 situation? Remember what I'm talking about? You had Mark Mangino going up against uh oh man, I can see his face, but I can't remember Missouri's coach's name. Gary Pinkel. What if it's like a what if college football gets thrown off its axis and nobody expects Arkansas to do anything this year? Kind of like Kansas, 11-1 Kansas in 2007. Nobody expected that. What if Arkansas does that? Arkansas's been a doormat outside of one season, 2 seasons since 2013. They've
Mhm.
been a doormat. What if that game means something? And I'm just throwing poop at a wall right now, like because the percentages of that actually happening and Arkansas winning out, according to Pro Football Focus, is like 0.1%, like maybe 0.01%. It's we had Arkansas has no odds. Take we out of Arkansas has no odds to do that. What if Arkansas goes to Columbia this year? Missouri's on a special run. Say they upset Georgia, and their undefeated season hangs on beating Arkansas. Not saying it happens, but that makes it a meaningful game. You have a chance to basically annihilate Missouri's. I mean, going to a 12 team playoff, it's not as impactful as it used to be. But what if they sidetrack Missouri season late in the year when they're 11-0 and they lose in the first round of the playoffs? Maybe that kind of impact that would shut up Eli Drinkwitz. That would kind of make the rivalry a little bit different, in my opinion. I think it'll make people start acting actually caring about it. Just a scenario.
Yeah, I really racked my brain this morning trying to find 6 wins.
Yeah,
Not
it's tough.
not trying to be like, oh yeah, they can definitely win 6 wins. I mean, trying to find out like if a rabbit ran across the field at the wrong time and tripped somebody up, could they get 6 wins kind of thing. And I had a hard time. I really did.
Yeah, even with all the with all the tough games being at home, it is hard to find 6 wins.
Mm. So I'm trying to remember. I think, man, I want to say Juracek mentioned something about like, I don't remember if it was 7 or 8 wins. He had a number in mind.
Yeah,
It's
you did.
higher, it was higher to be honest than I thought for success for Pittman.
Yep.
And it's going to be hard. I don't see it, but we haven't seen Bobby Petrino kind of try to work his magic. We haven't seen what Taylor Green can do under him. I've seen what he did at Boise. If Taylor Green is the Boise quarterback, it's going to be an up and down season. It's
Yep.
going to be really back and forth, and it's going to be like one of those 5 wins, frustrating. You just barely missed out because of a fumble or an interception kind of thing.
Mhm.
One of those seasons.
And I was thinking about that, trying to wrap my mind around it this morning too. And I'm thinking, like, this team, what's the expectation? Like, is it not to get blown out in every game? No, there's no fan expectations. Nobody's hollering for 8, 9, 10 wins. Like, what's the actual expectation? And nobody knows because of the points that you said. Nobody knows what to expect with Petrino. Nobody knows what to expect with this team because, yeah, they have some individual talent up and down this roster. They have some solid additions and some guys returning. You've got Luke Haas, who's a stud. You've got Landon Jackson, who's a stud. You go out there and get Anton Jukaj out of University of Albany, which is obviously an FBS football factory now because they're sending so many good defensive linemen to the next level in college. Um, you've got unknown at linebacker. I mean, obviously you get a former 5-star in Xavier and Sorry, but the guy's never played any kind of meaningful snaps. You've got several guys that are just from random group of five programs like Jacksonville State and in Sun Belt schools like like Marshall, like, what's the expectation here? You've got Braxton, who was a stud last year as a true freshman. You
Hmm.
have a couple of guys like the Metcalf kids who have great genes, family genes. Those are solid guys. I'm trying to think of some. I mean, you got the offensive line. You added Carmona, who was a all Mountain West Conference guy. Is that going to transition well to the SEC? What about Blackstock, who is a JUCO All American? Is he going? And keep on looking in the running back room. Like you've got some studs at every position, but do you have enough of those to have quality depth? It's okay to have quality starters, but what do you have? What happens if you have injuries? Where's what happens when you have the fall off? Like, I don't know what the expectation is this year. And if the expectation should be 6-6 every year, maybe 5-7 at the worst. That's used to be the expectation, but what's the expectation now? That's my only question. I don't know. Like, it's hard to figure that out.
I think anything over 4 wins is almost exceeding expectation this year. Because if we look up, let me pull the schedule here real quick. All right, I'm gonna give you some. If they beat Oklahoma State, does that exceed your expectation?
Yes, I don't even see that happening.
Okay. If they go into Auburn and knock off Coach Freeze, does that exceed your expectation?
Yes,
Okay. If they go down to Dallas and beat up on Texas A&M down in Arlington, is that in your expectation?
that would be ideal. Ideal. Yes.
Okay. So that's one that we might could possibly see.
Yeah.
Uh, Taking on Tennessee and Fayetteville, is that an expected win?
I don't know if you can say it, but I think it's more of a coin toss and what a lot of people are leaning on to. I think we can go into detail with that later, but I don't necessarily see Tennessee being returning to a 9, 10, 11 win season either.
LSU in a night game?
You never know. They have questions too at quarterback.
Yeah, it's gonna be how they handle their quarterback.
Yeah,
At Mississippi State,
I can count that as a W.
yeah. So that's one I'm kind of like, okay, you might could expect that one.
Yeah.
Do you expect them to beat Ole Miss?
No, I don't.
Do you expect them to beat Texas?
No,
Do you expect them to go into Columbia and beat Missouri?
no,
Okay. So that
not
tells
tech.
me, so you got wins over UAPB, UAB. I'm assuming,
Mhm.
you may not expect them to win one of these. A win over Louisiana Tech. Let's see, is that three? One, two,
That's three. And we
three.
got
And then
state.
Mississippi State.
That's four.
That's four. And that's four as the expectation, hoping for maybe a fifth with Texas A&M and praying for a sixth with LSU or Tennessee. So it sounds to me like the expectation is four.
Right. I think that's your floor. Four should be the floor.
And you better hope let
Anything better
get
than
it together
that?
down at Mississippi State on year one.
Yeah, they've got to get that win. And if you can still win at home between Texas, LSU, Tennessee, and Ole Miss, that gets you to 5-6 wins. And if listen, I mean, last year nobody saw South Alabama going up there and waxing Oklahoma State in their house either.
Mm.
I thought Gundy's days were numbered when they lost that game. South Alabama wasn't even. You think about that when they won, everybody's like, "Man, South Alabama, they may be a pretty good group of five team. They finished 6-6." Like that was had to be the surprise because Oklahoma State ended up winning what 8 or 9 games. I mean, Oklahoma State they have a history of slow starts. So does Arkansas, obviously. But what if Arkansas does get that win? It might change things. It might give them momentum to. I mean, and then they go and play UAPB or no UAB, sorry. And then they have is it Auburn the next week or is it Texas A&M the next week?
Yeah, so if they should take out UAPB to start.
Yeah,
If somehow they pull off a win at Oklahoma State, you got to think they beat UAB. Now there's momentum building,
yes,
and Auburn still got quarterback issues.
Yeah, and that's surprising too, considering Peyton Thorne going into his second year at Auburn. Hugh Freeze has, I mean, he had a good second year jump with Bo Wallace at Ole Miss in his second year too.
Mm.
So there could be that, but I don't have that expectation. I don't think that Peyton Thorne's quite the quarterback Bo Wallace was.
So you ride momentum and you steal one against Auburn.
Hmm.
Go down to Arlington. Maybe you steal one against A&M. Maybe Petrino knows what's left of that defense well enough to know their weaknesses and picks them apart. Now you really got momentum going. You got Tennessee
Yeah,
coming into Fayetteville. Maybe it's on
and
some
they have a new
outside chance
quarterback too.
you pull that one out. Then you've got LSU with possible quarterback problems in a night game in that stadium, followed by Mississippi State in an 11 a.m. start down there in Starkville.
Yeah,
You
don't
catch
say it.
Ole
Don't
Miss on
say
a
it ain't
cold
no.
night. See, now here's your scenario you're talking about. That momentum
Yeah,
starts rolling.
yeah.
Ole Miss on a cold night, get all jacked up for an 11 a.m. game against Texas on ABC. Louisiana Tech the following week, and then that showdown with Mizzou. Maybe the season hinges on Oklahoma State.
Yeah, you can see it happening. You just have you look at the spring game, obviously, and Andy and I have talked about it too, where early in the season they had or early in spring they just were very vanilla. Like I don't know what to expect, but then they're playing second stringers. Man, like what's gonna happen? I don't know. That's my big question.
But like you said, they are one injury away from total disaster.
Yes.
And it doesn't really matter where that injury comes.
No, not at all.
So it'll
And
be
you think that's where the transfer portal would be key. But even pre-transfer portal, they were always one injury away from disaster. So
I am
it'll be very
interested in
interesting.
seeing because I've heard a lot of good things about how great of an athlete the baseball player is they brought in,
Hmm.
the former pro player, the receiver,
Right.
how ridiculous of an athlete he is. I'm interested in seeing if Bobby Petrino can turn him into some sort of X factor.
Right.
Him and Armstrong somehow, make something of it. They figure out how to use Satania correctly, and then maybe you get something going out there.
With Broden too.
Yeah.
You got
So
to turn
who
in. You
knows?
got to turn some role players into some key players there.
Exactly. All right, so we'll kind of wrap this up. Basically, what we kind of figured out here is if you squint really hard and you believe in the power of momentum and that Arkansas can somehow upset Oklahoma State, somehow, or magic and like miracles of God, this team can get a few wins going. Otherwise, it's 4 wins and a prayer. Does that feel pretty accurate assessment of what we're looking at this year?
Absolutely. I feel like if they can figure out a way and the ball bounces their towards them and they can pick it up. They don't get whistled before picking it up. Maybe they do find a way to pull a couple of victories off and make bowl eligibility. That's a wing and a prayer, and that's about as far as I can take it right now. Because as I said, I put all my eggs in the basket last year for a big season. It just kind of went the other direction, but
Mm.
hopefully, I want to see them for our sake and fans' heartache that they figure out a way to win a couple of games and not feel like they're having their time wasted for another year.
All right, so there you go, Arkansas fans. You have to hope for a season of 4th and 25 every single game. Just about, except for four. Except for four. But it's 4th and 25 the rest of the way. And you're going to have to find out who Hunter Henry is for this team. So, all right. Well, that kind of does it for us here at All Hogs. Jacob, thank you for taking time out of your day and away from your family to be able to talk to me and to the people of Arkansas. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me on, man. It was a good time.
All right. And that'll do it. So for All Hogs, I'm Kent Smith. State of Arkansas, y'all have a blessed day.